Yeah, man. YDG, the Unsanctioned podcast.
Really dope, Gift the Great here.
Episode 3. What's good?
Follow us on Instagrams and social media. You know, Willie Dope.
I am at Gift the Great,
and I'm starting up a. I'm about to say a podcast. I'm starting up an Instagram for the podcast. You can follow that now at the YDG Network. Young, Dope, and Gifted, in case you're wondering what YDG means.
At the YDG Network, is going to have this podcast. It's going to hopefully house another podcast series.
Hopefully it's going to house a whole bunch of different shit.
Yeah, a whole bunch of different content from us.
That's God willing. We'll see how that goes. One thing at a time.
But yeah, man, we are here to talk everything professional wrestling that's going on right now that's relevant in the culture of this professional wrestling. You know what I mean?
We switched up the schedule a little bit, like, because usually we record on Mondays. So just pull the curtain back a little bit. Today's Tuesday, so we actually have 2 episodes of Raw to kind of talk about.
I don't even want to talk about 1 episode of Raw, but I guess we got 2 episodes of Raw.
We can breeze through it because I've kind of been.
No, last week's we can breeze through it. Last week's episode, it's already out of my mind. I don't even think the people care. They've heard. They know what happened. They saw the draft.
We gonna come back to WWE and all of the nonsense that's been coming on through there. But I wanted to talk real quick about some brief news things that's been going on. Like the big thing out of last week, it was a big rumor about some big news. I said big a whole bunch of times in that last sentence. Coming out of Japan, and a lot of people were expecting it to be NXT expanding into Japan.
NXT Japan coming soon.
Turned out to be
psych.
Turned out to be the first bit of news that I heard was I'm not super familiar, so forgive me for my ignorance, but Bushiroad purchased Stardom.
Yeah. I'm not super familiar with it, but yeah, they purchased Stardom. And
I'm familiar with Stardom, but the Bushiroad, is that a company, or is that like a streaming service or something like that?
Oh boy, now I don't know, but okay, I heard it was something that had to do with them and like New Japan, and perhaps starting like a New Japan women's company or something like that.
All right, yeah, we sound like ignorant.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, marks come for us. But then after that, news broke out that New Japan, speaking of New Japan, is actually expanding into the U.S.
officially.
The already saturated U.S. market, which sounds crazy because a couple of years ago it wasn't shit.
Yeah, I worry, and I also kind of worry about this with like. Not so much with AEW, but just like where does like ROH land and where does Impact land? Because I feel like, especially ROH, they already had their relationship with New Japan, and you know, to me that was already sort of like the U.S. branch of New Japan, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
like they did a lot of work together as far as like, you know, cross branding, cross promoting. They had like the MSG show last year here, you know, WrestleMania weekend. And or this past WrestleMania. So yeah, it's weird that they're now coming up with New Japan, I guess. What's it called? New Japan America?
I don't even know if it. Yeah, it's like New Japan of America. I think, yeah.
Which is a weird name in and of itself, but hopefully, you know, they could carve out a niche. But I just feel like it already sort of exists. But we're seeing AEW do things, and it's. You know,
I almost like, and this is just me. If I had it my way, we never have it our way. But I would have liked to have seen them just build upon that relationship they already have with ROH and use that, or even working with like AEW. Like I've seen like Okada did an interview with I forget the publication or whatever, but he was saying that he would definitely be open to working with AEW if New Japan allowed it. Obviously. Yeah. So, like, you know, I would have liked to see that extension, especially since, like, a lot of the AEW guys are still doing New Japan dates. I believe, I don't know if it's confirmed, but, like, I read something that Jericho and Moxley are supposed to be doing Wrestle Kingdom in January. So, you would think the relationship would go both ways, but I don't know.
I mean, there's a lot of bad blood. And like I said, like, it all has to do really with like, New Japan. I feel like wanted to make this venture a thing, and then along came AEW, and you had guys like Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks who would have spearheaded that New Japan American movement, sort of hop on board with AEW, and sort of ruined the plans for any type of New Japan, or at least halted the plans of any like New Japan American expansion that they had going. So we'll see how things unfold.
Yeah, because with that said, like, I do see like that. That's how I would like it to go down. Them working with a company already established here, but I definitely think New Japan does have like a hardcore fan base here in the States that would. There's some money to be made from New Japan here. How much? I don't know, but
I don't think definitely not as much as if Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and Cody were involved in New Japan as like, their home base company sort of, and we're doing shows in America. I feel like the draw would have been, I feel like the ticket would have been a lot higher than, just an Okada, a Tanahashi, and I don't know who would appeal to like, American fans a lot. Jay White maybe, Will Ospreay.
I like
not
Jay White.
Yeah,
Jay White's been growing on me.
Yeah, not that any of those guys are like bad, but just when you add Kenny and the Bucks and Cody to that,
Gorillas of Destiny.
It's just like, imagine the opportunity, imagine the magnitude of that type of move.
Real random, because of that's how my mind works. Speaking of Gorillas of Destiny, I just realized that Tangaloa.
Don't say that you just realized that they're sons of.
No.
Okay.
That he was Camacho in WWE.
Yeah.
I did not realize that.
Man.
I did not realize that.
Yeah. They had him playing a Mexican. Riding a bike. Yo, WWE is so...
We're going to talk about WWE.
But it's like, for as creative as they are, and like as...
Some of the shit they do.
Some of the shit that they try to get off, and then you see the shit that they try to
it's nothing new. Remember, Yokozuna was a Samoan playing a Japanese
and I was a kid, I ain't know.
And
Giant Guns...
Yeah, man, why am I forgetting this? Akeem.
Akeem the African Dream?
Yeah. White guy playing a black man.
Oh, nah. They played that whole thing out on TV. We knew what that was. But no, Yokozuna, deadass, when I was a kid, I used to think he was Japanese.
I thought he was too.
Yeah.
I legit thought he was. But then at the same time, I legit thought Undertaker was a dead man too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I thought Giant Gonzalez was a real wildebeest. I thought Giant Gonzalez was like, the dude from Henry and the Hendersons.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought that's like Giant Gonzalez was like one of those in real life.
Kids, man, kids.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there was anything else. Like, just the New Japan thing was like the biggest thing that stuck out to me last week. We didn't really talk too much about Bischoff getting let go, but I don't know, like, I don't think we really have anything to say that hasn't already been said about that.
I mean, I like Eric Bischoff. I'm a fan of his the 83 Weeks podcast, but to me, he's definitely an expert of his era, and he definitely provides like good insight of wrestling, what it was back in the 90s, and how he sort of revolutionized it in his own way, and how he built on how he pretty much made WCW success, which is great. But I don't think a lot of those same rules apply to today. As much as we harken back to those times and we have fond memories, it's a whole different environment today. It's a whole different world that we live in today.
I don't listen. Sorry to cut you off, but I don't listen to his podcast. But I just, on the surface, Bischoff doesn't take me as somebody that watches the product religiously.
Yeah, nah.
So like him coming in that position, I kind of was like, all right, it's Bischoff, but does he really know like what's even going on? Or anything?
I don't blame Bischoff for trying to take the money or anything like that.
Of course.
Maybe if he thought he would have had help in the position, then maybe he thought it was he would probably done like a good job in it. I know like at the time they were saying like for his, I think he actually came out and said it for like his personal motivation was just like I left the creative side of the business on such a bad note. I kind of want to redeem myself in some sort of way, and like make sure that like this run is like productive and I could add to the business rather than my legacy going down as I was one of the people that tanked WCW to a certain degree.
Try to save his legacy a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. I can see that.
But at the same time, you know, I mean, you could probably look at his tenure there as a failure, but I feel like, you know, a lot of people are saying that they're using him as a scapegoat
like
for
a
the
buffer, yeah.
as a scapegoat for the fact that, you know, the Smackdown show isn't doing as well as they had projected. But I feel like anybody who's been watching, anybody who's really been paying attention, could have probably told you that from months ago. That you
didn't need to hire Bischoff to do that.
Yeah,
but yeah. Moving on from that, Bound for Glory. Impact was this past weekend.
Favorite company of all time.
Admittedly, this is the first time I actually sat and watched a full Impact show in a while. I've seen clips here and there.
Entertained?
I was thoroughly entertained.
Are you not?
I was thoroughly entertained.
And this is the problem that Impact Wrestling finds itself in 2019, is that there's so much carryover from the downfall of TNA, you know what I'm saying, like the bad times in TNA, and I mean with good reason. You know, TNA did a lot of dumb shit that sort of like really, you know, put a bad taste in fans' mouth. But I feel like since the new owner, and then they also had like their period where they were sort of like they were shuffling around to like different networks, and ownership was shifting, and Dixie didn't want to let go of the reins, and Billy Corgan was there, and they sort of screwed him out of ownership, and Jeff Jarrett was there for a little bit, you know, and it was a lot going on ownership wise. But like once the dust settled, and now we have Anthem, and we have Scott D'Amore, who I always thought creatively was probably one of the best bookers in TNA for his time, that, you know, the period in time where he was working in creative in TNA back in like mid 2000s. They have him, they have Don Callis behind the scenes, and I mean, ever since then, I just feel like the creative has been great. They done a lot with a little, and it's compelling storylines like week to week. You know what I'm saying? It's like, or like there's like storyline arcs, and that's even through the chaos of roster changes and guys, you know, leaving for, you know, more money elsewhere and more opportunities elsewhere. Impact has just managed to maintain a pretty decent show despite all the chaos around it. And now, like, the ownership dust is sort of settled. I feel like, you know, they've gone on like about a year and a half of putting on just great pay-per-views.
Like, it wasn't like the perfect card by any means, but for somebody that hasn't watched Impact in a long time, it had me wanting to tune into Impact more. Like, I enjoyed, like, I'm a sucker for Battle Royals anyway. The Battle Royal could be terrible, and I'll still get a kick out of just seeing who's all in it and everything like that. The freaking the ladder match was insane.
Yeah, the X Division ladder match
was insane. Shout out to Tessa. She's like my favorite like female wrestler right now.
Shout out to AC Romero.
Oh man.
I hope he's good.
Oh,
that fall
he
was
looked
insane.
like he died, bro.
There's no way you could be that big and
not
fall gracefully.
Like, he almost looked like he was gonna go through the floor when he went through the table. Shamrock looked really good. Shamrock looked a lot better than I thought he would.
Yeah.
For what is he, like 53, something like that?
Somebody who's like in the early to mid 50s.
It was like it wasn't the best match, but Shamrock looked really good too. I was just impressed by some of the stuff he did. He did a dive to the outside over the top rope. No hands, no touching the rope, nothing. Just full leap over the top rope. I'm like, holy shit.
That's Ken Shamrock for you. I feel like it takes a certain mind. It's funny. I was watching the network. I was watching an old episode of Raw. And, Ken Shamrock was, like, in a straitjacket, like, backstage, and he, like, broke out of the straitjacket. You know, like, I feel like they probably, like, made, like, a running gag of Ken Shamrock flipping out.
That's the one thing, if I remember correctly, that didn't happen in the match with Moose. That I was kind of, me being, you know, the old Mark from the Attitude Era and everything. I was kind of hoping they would run that spot with Ken kind of snapping and going off on Moose. But I get it, you know, that's the WWF thing, you know what I mean? But I was just hoping I would get to see that. The main event was sick. Sami Callihan and Brian Cage, they did a lot of crazy shit, but you know, and it made sense because of all the hostility between him and Sami. That's his wife, right, Melissa? Yeah, Sami basically like beating her ass for a couple of weeks. Yeah. He like broke a bottle over her or something like that. Like pile drived her too, like a lot of craziness. what's funny, and I hit you up about that because, again, I haven't watched Impact, so in the video package leading up to the match, they showed this angle they ran a couple of weeks ago that we kind of talked about, me not knowing that this happened in Impact, about, like, yo, I wish, like, they would run an angle where, like, a wrestler just, like, kind of snaps and, like, flips on the fans. Mm-hmm. And they kind of did that with Brian Cage, where he was, like, fighting the OVE, and one of the fans, you know, they outside, the fans like, yeah, get him, Brian, tapping him on the back, and Brian, thinking it's one of the OVE guys, grabbing him up, yoking him, tossing him into the ring, you know, like, that's the kind of, I really enjoyed that. Yeah. I feel like Impact was listening to our podcast.
And shout outs to Impact, like I said, like, there's just a certain edge to that show. I mean, there's a lot of hokey things that they get away with on the show, and I feel like, I don't know. I can sort of forgive it only because the other storytelling is so good. I feel like the characters are well developed on that show. Like, the way they're presented, the video packages, like, everybody sort of has, like, their own sort of presentation. Like, I wish Bound for Glory, I think, like, the only thing for me that I wish they could have given us, and especially, like, you watching, you didn't get to see the Rascals. It's like
because they were like on. They had a match, but it wasn't on the main card.
Yeah, they were on the pre-show.
I am familiar with the Rascals. Excuse me. I am familiar with the Rascals, though. You have sent me a couple of, like, the videos from the, what they call it, the Treehouse, right?
Yeah.
They look thoroughly entertaining. And I know that kid. I've seen some of his matches. Xavier. Desmond
Xavier. Well, I'm about to say Desmond Wolf, and that was Nigel's name.
I think it's Desmond Xavier.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's really good. Right. I'm not too familiar with the other guys, but Desmond, he's really, really good.
But it's like everybody's presentation on that show is like different. Like, their backstage segment looks different than OVE's. Their backstage, OVE's backstage segments look different from, let's say, Falaba and oh man, I missed what's her name? They used to be on that show. What's the hot chick's name? And she's about to get signed to WWE now with the blonde hair.
Scarlett Bordeaux.
Scarlett Bordeaux. Yeah, like
the Smoke Show.
Yeah.
Oh man, she had me watching. That was probably the last time I watched Impact, when she was debuting, just to see what all the fuss was about.
And like I said, that's probably one of the only negatives about Impact, is that, like, so many people come and then go because, like, the money elsewhere is so much better.
It's like a lot of cup of coffees and
right.
Yeah.
But it's like, for what they have and for what they're giving and for what they put out, it's a fun product to just
in a weird
watch.
way. I kind of feel like Impact fills that void. Like, if you were to have the big three in 2019, WWE is obviously WWE. AEW's been giving off that, like, old school Nitro, updated, you know, but, like, kind of feels like a Nitro in a way. And I feel like Impact kind of fills that ECW void. Like, you know, obviously not as extreme with but, like, just, like, kind of like the aura around it. Like you said, like, some people come through, kind of have a cup of coffee there, and they're a little more adult oriented with, like, the stories and stuff like that. You know, like the women fighting the men fighting the woman, you know.
Well, it's kind of like what I was saying off mic about
camera coming soon.
Yeah, about you know, WWE. I feel like the one thing that sort of hurts WWE in a way is the fact that they have so many people to answer to. They have Fox, they have sponsors, they have the investors. It's like they can't do, like, you know, they can't push the envelope too much. Where, like, intergender wrestling in TNA is like a thing now, and, like, it really has been a thing on the indies for years now, but Impact has sort of embraced it. WWE is still sort of like, oh, we can't have men and women
and I guess it does help
because
Impact, in a way, doesn't
we have Susan B. Komen to worry about.
Yeah, Impact doesn't have as many eyes on it, so they can kind of get away with a lot more, but that's just the nature of the beast, man. I'm here for it. Like, I love it. All the women that's in Impact, they seem to enjoy it as well, so it's like, if the guys and gals like it,
Tessa Blanchard, and as you know, as much as I like Becky Lynch, the character and all that, Tessa Blanchard is probably as much of the man in TNA in Impact right now as Becky Lynch claims she is in WWE.
I love Becky Lynch. Tessa's more of the man, quote unquote, than Becky
Tessa wrestles like a dude. Like,
yes.
She doesn't prance
and
around the ring.
When she's fighting other dudes, it's believable.
She doesn't prance around the ring. She doesn't run the ropes funny. You know, she doesn't she goes out there fully 100%, like, hard-hitting like a dude. Like, it's really impressive to watch.
And she gives off that vibe that, like, even if she's getting her ass kicked, there's no quitting her. Like, she's going to fight till she can't fight anymore. And I love to see that. I know her dad must be proud of her.
Yeah. I
know her dad must be proud.
Tully Blanchard, too. Tully Blanchard be out there.
Yo, Tully, I think we spoke about it, but that when Tully shoved Moxley into the step? I'm like, all right, Tully, get you some.
Tully might have to put on the boots and have like some matches in AEW at this point, cause
get you some, Tully.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed the Bound for Glory. I'm gonna try to catch Impact. They're moving to, I think tonight's the first night on Access, or however you pronounce that channel. So I'm looking forward to that. Tuesdays is gonna be a big night for wrestling, man. You got NWA Power, you got AEW Dark, and you got Impact now. So Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
About AEW Dark.
Yeah, so Tuesdays and Wednesdays are probably my favorite nights for wrestling in the week now.
Yeah.
Speaking of NWA Power, last week, just to run through it real quick. Did you catch it last week, Power?
I feel like I did, but I feel like there's so much wrestling now that it's sort of like it
So
quickly went out of my mind.
What I can remember off the top of my head, I don't have my notes in front of me, was you had the first appearance of Colt Cabana. He teamed with Mr. Anderson. They took on, I forget who they took on, but I knew I enjoyed that match. That match was cool. You had that promo with Nick Aldis at the end of the show that I thought was really good. Where he was kind of getting on them for like treating it like this isn't TMZ, this is professional wrestling,
and I like that his character is so much of like the stand up, like this is what a champion is supposed to be, and you can almost cheer for him. But then when they went to like interview him the week prior, and like he didn't let Homegirl talk, it's kind of like, oh, what a dick. You know what I mean? Like
he's an asshole.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot. This guy is an asshole. You know what I mean? Like,
but he's so good, and like his promos, like even though like you could tell that like they probably give him like some bullet points or something like that, but like it sounds so genuine. That's probably the most refreshing thing about NWA to me, that everything just sounds from the heart and genuine and off the cuff. And
oh yeah, that's honestly one of like my favorite things about going back and watching like the old Georgia Championship Wrestling and like, you know, stuff on the network, is that it's not necessarily the wrestling. Obviously wrestling, you know, the in-ring stuff has come such a long way, the athleticism and all that, but the promos to me are so like real, you know what I mean? Like even if they're not real, even if guys are sort of like, you know, just trying to, you know, figure out their characters right there on screen, it's sort of like, look, like, you know, this is almost like Raw. This is like about as real as it gets, you know what I mean? Good. You got guys who are sort of in between, but like nobody really sounds like scripted.
Yeah.
Nobody's really giving verbiage that like, you know, if they weren't involved in a feud, like who would use like, you know, some of the words that they use on Raw and like say things and like just go insult for insult back and forth on Raw like that. Like who would do that?
Yep.
In a real fight, you know, a guy gets out there, you know, he's yelling, he's screaming, he's cursing, he's spitting in the camera and stuff like that. Just so like I sort of spit on the mic just now. You know, and it's like, you know, the camera's like real in tight on their eyes and they're looking in the camera like and like that's what that wrestling on the network, like watching that is so refreshing. I love the presentation of NWA Power, that it does give you that feeling. Just
real quick, one more guy I want to give props to, who I really enjoyed like the match and his promo after, was the match was with Trevor Murdoch and the young kid Ricky Starks, and he cut a promo after, and I definitely got like some light like rock like vibes from him, the way he was cutting his promo, kind of cocky but like not confident and everything.
You can tell too he's trying to find it on the spot, you know what I mean? And to me, honestly, I'd rather that than just a bunch of scripted words. Like even, I mean, I don't know if you want to skip ahead to Raw, like as much as I like the Humberto Carrillo kid, like even like some of his promo backstage, it was just like
like they're kind of telling him
like
what
I like
to say.
Like I like the seed they planted with you know, him, you know, getting at Seth a little bit, taking a little dig, but then it was like, you know, but I want to be a champion and and it's like he's saying it so
corny,
generic, corny, like ugh.
Yeah. Well, we can start moving into everything with WWE. We can start with Raw. Like I said earlier at the beginning of the show, we missed last week. Last week was just the end of the draft. Honestly, it was shit. That's all you need to know about it. Ain't really nothing So whoever was already on Raw stayed on Raw for the most part.
Yeah.
The big thing coming out of last week was Seth burning down the Firefly Funhouse, and if you enough of a wrestling fan to find our podcast, you've probably heard a million other takes on what people think about the that whole segment. I think it's safe to say we kind of both feel the same way.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm weird about this Seth Rollins thing. I have two minds about it. On one hand, I kind of didn't mind it happening. I felt like, all right, this probably would be something that they would do with Seth and Bray Wyatt eventually, right? I just don't think that fans want to see this right now.
So the thing that bothered me about it, not that he burned it down. My biggest takeaway from it was they've made the Firefly Funhouse to be like this kind of supernatural. You don't know if it's like, is it real? Is this just like in Bray's head? It's like, what is this? And Seth is just, I'm going fiend hunting. We don't see him doing anything for the rest of the night. And he just pops up at the funhouse. Like, where is the funhouse? How did he find it? Like, what is this just a place backstage that anybody could have got to?
But
like,
see, then that's the weird part with me, is that like everybody's sort of reading into it that way. I'm sort of reading into it like I've always kind of accepted like this is just like a weird thing that he does backstage, and somebody could just find it and and just mess it up if they wanted to. I mean, not that I was thinking that this angle would happen, but it I didn't look at it like, oh, we're in some sort of weird place in Bray Wyatt's mind and da-da-da-da-da. It's like, come on. It's like, I know better. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a physical thing. Bray Wyatt's just doing this on his own dime. You know what I mean? And he's running these tapes throughout Raw. Okay, fine. If somebody wants to go back there and sort of beat him up or mess it up or whatever like that, at some point it's going to happen. Like I said, I just don't think that everybody else looks at it that way. I just don't think that people are looking at the angle as going the way they want it to go, and I completely understand that, especially after everything with Hell in the Cell.
Yeah, that
it's sort of like
taste in everybody's
and then just the history of Bray Wyatt himself is like we've wanted Bray Wyatt to do something successful in WWE, and here comes this Firefly Funhouse segment that everybody loves, right? It sort of resurrected the Bray Wyatt character, and now you're just shutting it down this quick.
It's like, it's frustrating because it's the same song and dance when it comes to Bray Wyatt. Mm-hmm. At least 3 or 4 different times, it's like he has something hot. They drop the ball. He goes away for a little bit. Comes, all right, well, I got this new thing.
Right.
It's hot. They drop the ball. Okay, well, I got this thing now. They drop the ball. It's like the same thing. So it's like, what does he have to do?
How many times does he have to win us back? You know what I mean? And credit to Bray Wyatt. Every time he wins us back. And then somehow creatively they just drop the ball or they stall him or, yeah. And I mean, like I said, they're bringing it back on Friday. Like I said,
maybe they'll, because it seems like with a lot of this this angle that they're doing with Seth and Bray has been like them reacting to like the outrage online and stuff like that. Right. What I mean by that is like with the match that they have Crown Jewel now, they're making sure to promote it as match will not be stopped by any means. You know what I mean? Yeah, because of all the outrage and now
pinfalls and submissions count.
And now with the Firefly Funhouse, I believe they said something like, "Oh, we're here. What happened to that funhouse?" or something like that. Maybe I could be making that up, but I believe that's something that they said.
But then here's the frustrating part of that, because it was like, all right, I do want to see what happens to Bray Wyatt post Firefly Funhouse. If he brings it back, is he going to be even more maniacal? Is he going to be pissed off? Like, there has to be some sort of, redemption for Bray Wyatt. But then you have the confusion of the fact that these two are on 2 different brands.
Yeah.
So it's like, how far can this really go?
And I was thinking that last night, too, because it's like, all right, they got Seth on Raw, Bray on Smackdown. I'm pretty certain that the Universal title is going to stay on Raw. So it's like, why is this match even for the belt if it's either going to be more than likely some type of fluke finish again, or Seth is just going to beat Bray, which I don't think is really the best thing to do either.
You know, I didn't even think about the fact that, yeah, the belt is on the line, and that sort of foreshadows the fact that, you know, how you're going to have two champions on one show.
And if I learned anything from these Saudi shows, they're nothing more than bona fide, really fucking expensive house shows.
Yeah, like none of the titles ever really change. Like nobody ever really wins like a real title. Like nobody's looking at the same greatest.
All the
in the
angles
world.
kind of stay in the same spot. Nothing advances at these shows.
And I mean, I guess it'll be good to see them fight again. But honestly, it's like, you know, like part of me wants to see the story really continue because I feel like Bray Wyatt does need that redemption, and I feel like, you know, Seth Rollins, and we could talk about this too. I'm open to Seth Rollins of, you know, like this, as much as like the internet fans hate Seth Rollins, as much as he was sort of like being a dick during his match against Humberto Carrillo. I'm sort of open to this being the seeds, at least planting the seeds of a Seth Rollins like heel turn. I don't know if they're gonna necessarily turn Bray Wyatt face, but I could see Seth Rollins going down like this maniacal path that, like, you know, Bray Wyatt really set him down, you know.
They don't even really need to turn Bray face because all the heelish things that he's doing, fans are chanting for him anyway. So
right.
Just let him keep doing what he's doing.
Right. And let Seth just go more and more into the darkness. You know what I mean? I can see it
and
going that way. And
that'll kind of play into the Fiend character as a whole. Like, he really infected, quote unquote, Seth and made him change who he is.
Right.
And, you know?
And it falls in line with Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt, not for nothing, you know, when he has on the sweater and he's doing the show, he's all smiles and giggles and, you know, he's with the kids and stuff like that. But then, you know, the Fiend is this obviously like evil, demonic, you know, side of him and stuff like that. I want to see where the storyline goes.
I think yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I'm open to Seth. I'm open to WWE using all of the real life heat that Seth Rollins has with the fans and all the bullshit that he does on Twitter. I'm open to them sort of bleeding that into storyline and letting him sort of show those signs of being a heel. But I have so little faith in WWE being subtle and being creative in that type of way that I don't think they're going to follow through full-fledged the way they should.
I would like to see when they bring back the Firefly Funhouse that, like, it's still, like, kind of showing signs of, like, being burnt down.
Yeah.
And, like, Bray's looking, like, all, like, distraught and hair is messed up and all of that. But he's still, like, hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Firefly Funhouse.
Right.
Like nothing happened.
I feel like there's a lot of characters in WWE that are sort of like that. Like, we talked about this off mic too with Kofi Kingston, and we spoke about this a few weeks ago, like how Kofi Kingston lost the way he did to Brock Lesnar, and it's like, okay, that sucked, but if he comes back next week pissed off, ready to, you know, get his title back and shit.
Even if he wasn't going for Brock directly, just like a different attitude.
Right. That could sort of salvage it. But then he came back and it was all throwing pancakes into the crowd and
power
this, that,
of
and
positivity.
But somebody pointed out last week that during the promo, he was like crushing a pancake with his hand while he was saying, "Oh, nah, man, I'm good. Power of positivity," you know? Like, and it's like, I don't trust WWE to tell the story that way and be that subtle and sort of like, nah, look, Kofi really is going down like this other path. But that would be dope if they did.
My gut
I'm not gonna get my hopes up though.
My gut tells me that's something Kofi kind of just did, but I hope because so many people picked up on it that it makes them take notice of it and like, we should kind of try to do something with this. But it kind of sucks because like Xavier Woods is injured now, so I feel like they're just gonna, Kofi, we need you to tag with Big E.
Right.
So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes.
I just wish WWE could like, and that's the thing. It's like, it's sort of like what I was saying about Raw with the whole like Lana and Rusev thing. It's like, we just know that you guys aren't like, this isn't what we're conditioned for, right? So why are you trying to like jar us now with this storyline when everything else is so sanitized? So like in the same way, it's like WWE, you suck at telling stories like this. You trying to feed it to us now is going to go over everybody's head. Mm-hmm. Nobody's gonna like, and not like, oh my god, we didn't see that coming in a good way. It's sort of like, what? You were, what? No.
It just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, now it's just gonna, like, this came out of nowhere, and it's like, nah, I don't believe you. Like,
so we were kind of talking about that, and that kind of had us go off on a tangent to me and Giff like the fantasy book sometimes.
Right.
We said we need to probably incorporate that some more into the show, pulling back the curtain a little bit. But we were talking about this whole Lana, Bobby Lashley, and Rusev thing and how we would have gone about booking it. And, like, one of the things was that I didn't like about it is that it just, like, first off, they brought Rusev back as supposedly being Maria Kanellis' baby daddy. That hasn't been mentioned again. Then, out of nowhere, it's like Lana just comes out with Bobby Lashley, and they're basically trying to make a baby on stage.
Right.
That came out of nowhere. Because all of these people have been off the show, so it's like it hasn't been any seed planted to lean towards that. So one of the things we were talking about is what I would have did is they have this whole match coming up at Crown Jewel with Team Flair versus Team Hogan. I would have brought them both back as surprise picks on like I think I said Team Flair because Flair I believe is playing in the heel, yeah. So I think I would have brought them back on the heel team or whatever. Have them, have that match, whatever. After that, have them start to show chemistry with one another. Have them teaming up. That can go a couple of weeks. They can chase after the tag belts. You can even have, Lana managing them and everything like she used to do with Rusev and Aiden English. And have them, like, get to the point where they even win the tag belts. And, they win the tag belts and it's like, oh, let's go out, celebrate, whatever. So, and then you threw this in, which I really love, too. Because these are two other guys that aren't being used like that much. Even though I think Drake Maverick might be on SmackDown. But let's just assume he's on Raw for the sake of this conversation. EC3 and Drake Maverick. So for them to like kind of start up, maybe around the same time Rusev and Bobby Lashley come back, but not have the two stories like interact at all. Mm-hmm. Like have like Drake Maverick start off like this video blog, and it could just be confined to the YouTube or even like his Instagram, whatever the case is, where like it's just him and EC3 just doing what they do,
goofing off, and
EC3 being the straight face, Drake Maverick being Drake Maverick, being hilarious, right? So Lana, Rusev, Lashley, they win the belts, they go out and celebrate. Wherever they go to celebrate at the same time, EC3 and Drake Maverick are there just partying, whatever. Don't realize that the other three are coming here or whatever. And, they're getting drunk, they're getting wasted, Lana and crew and company, they're getting wasted. And Drake's like kind of recording like, oh, look, Rusev's drunk and look at, maybe not those words, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Like, oh, look, they're getting wasted and this, that, and the third. Bobby's not drinking. Bobby doesn't drink. Bobby's the designated driver. But they're all just having a good time.
Bobby's the cornball.
And
this works for so many different ways.
Because Bobby looks like a cornball.
Yes. No. Seriously, no. Yes. That's one of the things that frustrates me.
Because Bobby
completely about
Bobby
the
Lashley
storyline.
Looks like he doesn't.
He looks like a complete goof, a cornball, a square, trying to seduce Lana. Oh, Lana,
hey, this is my girl, and
you like it when I touch you like that? What a fucking... Come on! Ugh. Go ahead, continue, because this...
So Bobby doesn't drink, so he's the designated driver for the night, but he's having a good time. Lana and Rusev are getting shit-faced, whatever. Drake Maverick's, like, recording. Him and EC3 are doing what they do. Drake's making jokes, whatever. So if we see, Lashley and them are leaving. Lashley's gonna, taking everybody back to the hotel or whatever. So they get to the hotel. Turns out Drake Maverick and EC3 happen to be staying in the same hotel, coincidentally. So Drake's recording them going back to the room. Lashley's helping Rusev back to the room. He's like, oh my, look at Rusev. Rusev's wasted, whatever. Not thinking, just trying to make it funny, not really thinking anything of it. Lashley gets into the room. He helps, he guides Lana and Rusev into their room or whatever. So we see Lana and Rusev go into their room. Lashley tells them, all right, you guys have a good night. Lashley's room is across the hall. We see Lashley go into his room. His door closes. Then we see Rusev and Lana door open up. Lana comes out of her room, goes to Bobby's room. We see Bobby come to the door. And what was it? Like you said, like she's kind of there talking a little bit.
I feel like she's talking a little bit, right? or I kind of had that playing out a little different. Like, yeah, like Lashley helps, like, you know, Lana and Rusev back to the room or whatever. Rusev had way too much to drink. He can't even stand up, right? So they get Rusev in the into bed or whatever like that, right? So then Lana and Lashley are sort of like talking or whatever like that, and she's a little drunk. She's sort of like stumbling all over, and Bobby's like, you know, trying to like wish her good night, whatever, and she's being a little touchy-feely on him and stuff like that. You know, she's touching his chest, whatever. Getting a little handsy, you know, and then eventually, like, she pretty much kind of throws herself on him, and then Lashley sort of just
hesitant at first.
Yeah, Lashley, you know, at first he's like hesitant, but then he sort of like grabs her by the chin.
Because remember, he's the sober one,
right?
He's the sober one, right?
He knows fully well what he's doing, what he's taking advantage of. But at the same time, Lana threw herself on him, and that's where the storyline sort of goes. And where do we take it from there?
So from there, I believe, and then let me look back, because from there it's kind of like
who's in the wrong.
Lana doesn't remember what happens.
Right.
Lana doesn't remember what happens. Bobby knows full well what happens, but kind of like, damn, I'm not going to say anything. We just won the tag belts, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to mess up the team chemistry or whatever. So it goes a few more weeks of like, kind of like, nothing really, not too long, because you don't want people to forget what happened. Right. But a few weeks, maybe 2-3 weeks of like kind of nothing happening. Just like them having a couple of title defenses here and there, like everything's good. Then you see on whatever show, Raw, whatever it is, like Drake kind of like, what did we have him like going to Drake like kind of going to Rusev like, oh, I really got to tell you something, and Rusev not believing him.
Right.
So then, like, you kind of have this thing with, like, EC3 and Drake kind of get into this thing with Lashley and Rusev, because it's like Drake is they believe Drake is making up shit and trying to break up the team chemistry, this, that, and the third. That gives Drake and EC3 something to do.
Yeah.
So once, like, they actually have a match and it gets messed up, you go a couple, like, maybe the next week or something, Drake lets them know, like, no, look, I have footage. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to remember like he has footage. He shows it, and Lana's saying she doesn't remember even doing any of that. Bobby's sober, so now it puts Rusev in this position where it's like, all right, do you be mad at your wife for getting drunk and not being able to control yourself, or do you be mad at your partner for taking advantage of your drunken wife? Which seems like easy, but it's kind of like you're giving, like, it can kind of go either way.
The only hole that I see here right now is, how do you play out the fact that we all saw what happened with Lana and Rusev that night, but Rusev didn't, and then now we're presenting it to Rusev weeks later? That's the only thing that I'm trying to like figure out how to do. So I'm thinking like, all right, maybe we get the story up until they go back to the hotel, and Drake is sort of like telling EC3 like, yo, do you remember what happened last night? You know what I mean? And like he's trying to tell him, and like EC3's like, nah, I don't, you know. And then like,
so it's like Drake is like the only one that
really like knows and he's
what
trying
happened,
and he's trying to like reconcile in his own head, like, yo, do I tell Rusev? E3C almost kind of doesn't even believe him, but then he's like shows him, you see him like showing him the phone, but you don't see the actual footage.
So see, that's why I kind of you would have to probably play that up, where it's like you see Lana and Bobby talking or whatever, like in the hallway, and she kind of goes into his room, but maybe you don't really show that anything happened. So even like us watching, like we don't like, did something happen? Did they do something? Was she just, you know? Or
maybe you carried on week to week, where it's like you see sort of like, you always sort of like catch Bobby and Lana being like too, but then I don't know, because then
you could be like a little subtle with it, like how like with the Mega Powers and Miss Elizabeth, like back in the day, like how like, you know, Elizabeth would like kind of have her hand on Hogan for just a second too long, where it's like a little like, and Hogan will be holding her up a little with his hand a little too high, you know, like something like that. But You play it like that. Now you got the fans trying to decide, like, is Lana wrong for whatever? Is Bobby more wrong for knowing and taking advantage?
The social medias involved.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if WWE would have a problem with, like, because we were we were almost taking it to the, like, realms of, like, yo, is this like date rape type of thing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like,
but I think
like some type of like Me Too thing.
It's
and it's
current. Like, I think it plays into that, and I'm almost like 90% sure WWE would have a problem with it.
Right,
but. It's a great fucking story.
But then at the same time, to me, it's like, all right, you can't go 100% sleazy on Raw in 2019. You just can't. It just doesn't even feel right. Like, everything they're doing now doesn't even, like, feel natural or even feel, like, entertaining, right? But this is sort of something that is a little taboo, and it taps into, you know, something that's current without really necessarily saying, like, yo, this is sort of like some Me Too type shit, or, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you don't have to play into all of that, just, like, kind of, like...
But in the back of your mind, it's sort of like...
oh, this is kind of... Is this... Are they doing a date rape angle? Like...
Right, you know what I mean? But we're not overtly necessarily saying
not
that's what
spelling
it is.
Out for you.
Right, and then, like... Then you could even, like I was saying, you could even tap into it online. You could poll fans, like, who's in the wrong? Is Lana in the wrong? Is Lashley in the wrong for da-da-da-da? And it's so many, like...
layers to it.
Yeah.
So many layers to it. It can go so many ways.
And it's compelling, especially if you could, like...
And I feel like that's something that you can stretch out for, like, a couple of months.
Yeah, if you could...
From them teaming at the Crown Jewel to the end of what we just said, like, that can be stretched out easily, like 3-4 months.
Like, if you could... I think, like, it's more intriguing if you could suspect them cheating than having us show Lana and Lashley in the act of doing cheating
like
shit.
You never actually show them doing anything, but all signs point to they're doing something.
And poor Drake Maverick has the proof that something happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And even, like, if Drake has the proof, like, we never seen the proof that he has, but he's saying he has the proof.
Like, and it'll keep you hooked from week to week.
More so than the crap that they got going on now.
More so than Bobby Lashley. Do you like when I touch you there? Huh? Do you like when I go deeper? Huh? Fucking his face. His face and his fucking... Come on,
man.
Come on.
And that's just the thing with WWE. I feel like it hasn't been terrible. The saving grace for all these shows, like these past couple of weeks, has been, like, the wrestling's been really good. For the most part.
Ruth, if you would have known that Lana wanted to go to this restaurant, if you would have just paid more attention to her. But now I'm here taking her to this restaurant, Ruth.
And Lana,
shut up.
I asked you so many times to take me here. You never took me here. And yo.
Fucking backstage. What is this? What is this nonsense? You talk about Firefly Funhouse. What is this?
Where is this restaurant?
Where is this catering? It's trash.
Oh, man.
5-star restaurant.
Oh.
My ass. What are you talking about?
Man.
Where were they last night?
Yo, you know what's something else funny about that too? Real quick, something funny about that. It was a part last night where, like, it was supposed to be like the restaurant owner came in. Look, the food's on me, but please, you guys have to go. I heard your husband. Were they watching Raw in the restaurant? Was this a 5-star restaurant watching Monday Night Raw?
And Lashley was like, Rusev, you're in the ring right now.
Like, what was that?
Are you streaming this from the phone? Do they have it up? They have it up on a TV behind the bar. You at Dave & Buster's?
I didn't even think about that. What was that? How did the owner know?
Are you at Buffalo Wild Wings? Why are they watching Raw? The fuck? You never took me to Buffalo Wild Wings.
And the thing is, you can't even hear the TVs at these restaurants.
Oh my god!
And no 5-star restaurant has a TV in it. If I'm wrong, please let me know I'm wrong. No 5-star restaurant has it. And if they have a TV, they damn sure ain't playing Monday Night Raw.
Oh my god! I don't know, man. WWE, they exist in their own bubble, and that's kind of what spurred me to say, like, yo, even if they're gonna do something this ridiculous, like, to me, the one thing that I, like, sort of, like, pay attention to is, like, an Impact, did a great job of this back in the day when they introduced like the little locker room camera that like it moved past the door of the locker room, and it wasn't like the camera was right there staring at the guys. So like if anything, it was supposed to like.
It looked like somebody was like sneaking to catch this conversation.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like if the heels were doing anything dastardly, it's like it wasn't like, oh, here's this camera. Now here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna tell you that we're gonna go after da 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 da. It's sort of like,
and
no,
even the way that they were like would be talking, like it would kind of be like they're trying to like. Yeah, so like when we go out there, we're gonna do this. It's not. They're not having this conversation for everybody to hear.
Exactly. So like, even that sort of spurred me to say like, you know, even if they were to like run this angle, like I said, if you're gonna go this ridiculous route and you're gonna do this this affair angle, whatever, like that, right? Even just do it to where it's like it doesn't have to look like a WWE backstage production. I was thinking I was gonna go with like the Cheaters idea, where it's like, you know. Like I said, if it's something ridiculous and we're just going this ridiculous route, all right, fine, we're here. Have Rusev, like, in a car with a private investigator, make it look like an episode of Ride Along, except, like, you're looking out the window of the car like, oh, there goes Lana. Okay, she's going into the restaurant. She didn't tell me she was going to a restaurant tonight. Da-da-da-da. Why isn't she at the arena?
Yo, all this is doing is making me think Rusev is soft.
Yeah, because it's like, Rusev, you see it every week.
Every week they do it right in front of your face. And
right
you don't
in front of your
nothing.
face. You in the ring just, oh, man. Bruh.
This is your wife.
I mean, at least he sort of got some revenge. But even still, like I said, like it's just so hokey with the restaurant. It doesn't even look real. Like
it's annoying, man.
Even if they would have had, like I said, like Rusev in the car, and you see like Lana going into like a hotel or something like that. It's like, what the? Why is she going into the motel? She told me she was sick. Who is that? Who is that? Is that Bobby? What?
Bobby.
And then he hops out the car and goes after him. Like something that, like, you know,
some excitement, man.
Cheaters is a ridiculous show, but you know,
if you're gonna be ridiculous, be all the way ridiculous,
and don't make it look like a WWE backstage production.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was Raw. SmackDown was SmackDown. I honestly, I couldn't even sit through all of SmackDown this week. And not that it was terrible, but it was just a show that was kind of just there.
Yeah, like I almost can't even remember what happens on SmackDown. But then again, I don't think I was watching SmackDown like super attentively this week.
Like you had that whole thing with Kofi was this week that we spoke about.
Right.
I think the main event was like Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan against...
Oh, yeah, Nakamura.
Corbin and Nakamura?
Yeah.
Corbin and Nakamura.
And I think they're saying, like, you know, Bryan's going to branch off and feud with Nakamura.
That I'm excited
and
for.
Corbin and Reigns.
Yeah.
You're going to take the two people. I mean, we just started liking Roman Reigns. We're just going to put him with Corbin, who we sort of don't like. And it's just like, here's the guys that Vince has wanted to push in his mind since forever.
Corbin's not terrible. I just don't like how he's been presented and everything. I'm hoping this. I'm glad he's not fighting Chad Gable no more because I was starting to get, the Shorty G stuff.
Oh and my god,
the little promo. Yes, we did talk about that and the little promo after the match.
Oh my lord,
Shorty G.
I can almost live with him being Shorty G. I just hate these promos. And maybe I'm just old and crotchety. I'm not even crotchety, but maybe I'm just like old and I don't need all this. Oh, this guy can relate to me. This is for all the short people out there. It's like when Nia Jax did you could be a women's champion no matter what you look like. We get it.
You have to stand up to bullies. You were just bullying somebody.
But not even that. Yeah. It's like, fuck, like we get it. We can see. With our own eyes and our own senses, our own ears, we could ascertain, right, that this is a story that you're telling, and that Chad Gable is an underdog and he's overcoming the odds. You don't have to ram it down our throats every single week on commentary and then have him cut a promo
saying the same thing.
This is for all the short people. If you're insecure, no, we get it. We get it. You're not as tall as everybody else on the show, but you fight like hell. You have a big heart, and you pull off victories, and you're good at what you do. And
it's funny to me the stuff that WWE chooses to over-explain.
They oversell
and the
it.
Stuff that they expect us to just fill in the blanks on.
They have no idea how to play the subtlety game.
It's just funny to me.
They have no idea on both ends. They don't know when to be too subtle. They don't know when to just tone it down a bit.
They don't know. They don't know.
And it just comes across corny every time they try to oversell it. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, even if you want to cut the promo, I may not be the biggest fan of you just having to spell everything out for us, but fine. But Lord, if Chad Gable didn't come across like such a fucking loser.
And it's like,
pardon my language. Are we cursing on
I
this?
mean, we've been cursing, so I'm trying not to, but it's been happening.
Some words.
F it. And it's funny loser. Because it's like, it's people in the company that know how to do what. Like, NXT does the subtlety game extremely well.
Right.
Haven't seen it as much since they've been on USA, but me and you used to talk about all the time back when it was just on the network, like how somebody would be cutting a promo in the performance center, but like you'll see like guys training in the ring in the background, and like they'll kind of get into it in the ring, but they don't bring attention to it. It's just like Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch are fighting in the ring, and then the next week they have a match on NXT because of the little scuffle they got into while they were training.
My favorite angle, and they do that. You know what? I noticed they did it with Roderick Strong way back, and they did it with Roderick Strong even this week. We're like Roderick Strong, right? And that whole stable, that Undisputed Era, right? They'll do dastardly shit, but you won't necessarily see it right away. Like I remember there was a promo that they did. It was somewhere backstage, right? It was like in like the loading part of like some type of like entrance, like Full Sail or something like that, right? And Roderick Strong's coming from all the way in the background, right? And like, you know, guys in Undisputed Era talking whatever, cutting their promo. And Roderick Strong, he's walking slowly into the camera frame, right? And Roderick Strong, eventually he meets up with the guys, right? And then like about
was this 30, the Matt Riddle?
I might have been Matt. I can't remember who it was with. Then like 30 seconds later, everybody in the background is running towards this commotion. I
think this was when
and Roderick Strong was just over there. And it's like,
playing
what?
It cool. Like,
and like,
what's going on, guys?
It's like, what the hell just happened? And then you find out, I guess it was Matt Riddle's beat down to death over there.
Or even another example that just reminded me of when Aleister Black got injured.
Yeah.
It was like Regal was cutting the promo. They were like outside, and Regal's talking. I think it was like Kathy Kelly or whoever it was.
Yeah.
And you see one ref just run by.
Yeah.
Nobody says nothing about it. Then like a couple of agents run by. Then you're kind of like, wait, where
it might have been the same thing, but it definitely
it's like where
but they do this
running to? And then you see like a whole group of people running by. Then it's like, what the fuck is going on?
And it's like, somebody got beat up. You know what I mean? And it's like that works, and it's like it's subtle, but it's like it worked. And I think like they did it this past week on NXT, where it was like Roddy came out to the ring after like the Tommaso Ciampa match, and like his shirt was like messed up, and you're like, what the you know what I mean?
Why
like,
is his shirt?
Why is his shirt messed up? And then later on, you find out, because they beat up Velveteen Dream in the back.
Yes. Yep. That's all you need. We don't need to always see the beatdown. We don't need to see the challenged issue for the beatdown. Like, just like, show us that guys are smart.
Treat us with some intelligence.
Yeah.
Treat us like we have some brains. We could put two and two together.
But yeah, with that said, like NXT was good this week. NXT, they had that whole segment was good. I cannot say this dude's name for the
Donovan Dijakovic.
Dijakovic, there you go. Keith Lee tore it up.
I just think Dijak and then Kovic Ovic is at the end. Dijak
Kovic. Yeah. They tore it up. The Pete Dunne and I'm about to say Punishment Martinez. What's his name? Damian Priest. They tore it up. Yeah. They tore it up. Yeah, NXT was good this week.
Damian Priest is one of those guys who, if NXT wasn't sort of like the brand on USA that it is right now, he needs to get a call up. Like, he's kind of like one of those guys I feel like Elias, when he was in NXT, didn't do much. But, the main roster probably could do better with this guy right now.
Yeah, the main roster is better for some folks.
And I feel like Damian Priest, like, WWE right now sort of needs a big guy. Another big guy, and like maybe like somebody with like his sort of aura. I kind of get like an Aleister Black, even though they're not like the same like wrestling style necessarily, but it's sort of like that.
It's like
modern,
a darkness to him.
It's like a modern dark character.
But yet he's kind of like this playboy at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's different. I like it. And this match with Pete Dunne, like, they both really went at it. It was really, really good.
But then at the same time, I don't have faith in the main roster doing anything.
Nah.
Like keeping the mystique of certain characters.
Oh, and Tommaso made his return this past week. Went against Angel Garza.
Oh yeah, right.
That was a good match too. That was a really good match too. Tommaso looked like, I don't know how he came back so quick from that injury, man.
I was about to compare Damian Priest to Baron Corbin, because Baron Corbin to me, when I first
that's kind of like when he was in NXT, he kind of gave off that same type vibe,
that same sort of
the
dark
lone wolf
vibe, lone wolf. You know, he beats people up. You know, obviously he's gonna be the shit when he gets up to the main roster. You know, and then they kind of just
not that Corbin hasn't done bad for himself. It's just the whole stint with him running Raw just left a bad taste. Yeah, because when he first came up and he was on Smackdown and the feud with Dolph and AJ and him winning the Battle Royal and stuff, all of that was great.
Right,
all of that was great. It wasn't until he went to Raw and started dressing up as a waiter where it kind of fell apart for me.
Yeah,
but yeah, NXT was good. That was WWE's week. Just real quick before we wrap it up, let's talk a little AEW. Starting with Dark. Last week on AEW Dark, you were able to catch the Janela Omega match, right?
Amazing. How's it on Dark though? That's the only thing that.
If that's what Dark is gonna be, that's weekly viewing for me.
Yeah.
I hope they keep it like that and don't try to turn it into like a main event velocity type show. Like if the matches are gonna matter on there, you don't lose anything by having quality matches on AEW Dark. The fans in attendance get something. You get people tuning into the YouTube clips, the YouTube videos and everything like that. Like, why not? Have fun with it.
I'm so much in an old school mentality though that I'm like, I don't know if that, like, don't get me wrong, like it was a great match. It was a great match. I'm just like, to give it away on YouTube. And then, what hurt that? Not so much that it's on YouTube or it's on Dark, but that they didn't mention it on the following episode of AEW Dynamite.
But see, I can kind of say that the reason for it, and maybe like this might be me like kind of defending them or whatever, but the way that I took it from, and it kind of plays into the story too of Kenny being on like this losing streak in AEW. Mm-hmm. Besides that match, the tag match he won with Paige, was that match with Janela was unsanctioned.
I was gonna say, so it didn't count.
So you could kind of argue that's why it wasn't mentioned or anything like that. I mean, I definitely get what you're saying. Like, they could have made some type of nod to it. Because I think on the actual Dynamite, I don't think Janela's made his debut on Dynamite yet either. So that might kind of play into it too. But who knows? Like, that's what I took from it.
Love the match. Yeah. Love the match for what it was. I'm not going to complain when two guys go out there and give it their all like that.
So, speaking of Dynamite, on Dynamite this week, you had the big thing was Daniels getting jumped at the beginning of the show. Mm-hmm. Scorpio Sky wrestling with no shoes on. He has no shoes. He has no shoes.
That got him over. That got him over with the fans.
He was going. Like, Scorpio Sky, like, he's going to be... And I've liked him for years now. He's going to be a breakout star.
I've liked him since PWG when he used to wear the weird Power Ranger outfit.
Yep.
Little Gold Ranger looking outfit. But
and he was in... we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. Like, he was in that show, Wrestling Society X. Mm-hmm. And that was my first exposure to him. I'm like, yo, this guy is nuts.
Yeah, he's been great since forever, but he's been so, like... I don't want to say underutilized, but sort of like... He... Definitely in Scum? No, SCU, sorry. Mm-hmm. Definitely in SCU, he's sort of like the third wheel, but in a good way. He's a good third wheel. But Daniels and Kazarian are just, they've been on TV, they've been in the spotlight.
He's a third wheel in the sense of, like, if they're gonna push, he's the Kofi Kingston to SCU. Like, if they're gonna push somebody to be that singles guy, I can see it being Scorpio Sky.
Well, but I wouldn't say that was the case. Like, even when they were in ROH, Daniels was like going for the heavyweight title, and Kazarian and Scorpio Sky would sometimes go for the tag belt. Sometimes it would be Daniels and Daniels and Kazarian, and Daniels and Kazarian have been a tag team since Impact
forever.
Yeah. They were bad influence, and it's sort of like they've always been like the established guys, and Scorpio Sky was sort of like
the rookie.
Yeah, in a sense, even though he's not really
he's not a rookie, but he's the youngin in the group.
Yeah, and hopefully now he breaks out, and did they advance in the tag tournament?
Yes, they're fighting the next Dynamite show. They're fighting the Dark Order.
I wouldn't even mind seeing like, okay, Daniels, maybe he's healthy this week, and Scorpio Sky still wants to get in there, or the next their next fight or whatever like that, the next match, and Scorpio Sky wants to get in there, and Daniel's like, no, you already said that I'm good, I'm back, I got this, and then that sort of planting the seeds to maybe a split from the group.
It would be a good story. Just personally, I don't want to see a split yet, but it would play into the story.
But I just want them. Bottom line, I just want them to do something with Scorpio Sky. I don't want him to like sort of be forgotten.
Just be this third man in the group and everything. Yeah. So what else we had on Dynamite, which was a big talking point this week, was you had in the tag tournament Lucha Bros going against Jurassic Express.
Polarizing match.
Luchasaurus was hurt, wasn't able to participate in the match, so it was Jungle Boy Jack Perry, as JR calls him, and I love it. Jungle Boy Jack Perry taking on, and Marco Stunt taking on the Lucha Bros. And I really enjoyed this match. It wasn't the best match, but I was thoroughly sports entertained by it.
But the internet, you have the guys who are the purists, like my favorite wrestling internet commentator, Jim Cornette.
Get off my
yard,
Cornette.
Was up in arms about this. And I don't know, no. Who said it? Brian. I listened to a lot of different like other takes and stuff like that, and like I think Brian and Vinny were saying like, not for nothing, like, yes, we get that Marco Stunt shouldn't be out there, right? He's undersized, doesn't really look as believable, especially like as like a Luchasaurus. Like that match would have been a completely different match. But the offense that Marco Stunt did get in, it was all like counters and like tilt-a-whirls.
And that's what I was gonna say. I would have had a problem with it if Marco Stunt was in there and trying to like
go hold for hold and power moves,
power bomb
and stuff
somebody and power slam somebody, stuff like the fact that like most of his offense came from like the first spot that like really got me like, oh okay, I'm here for it, was I think it was like Phoenix, or it might have been Pentagon. One of the Lucha Bros tossed Stunt into the other one, and Stunt countered that into like a DDT.
Yeah.
And like stuff like that. I'm like, all right, this makes sense. This makes sense.
Like, it's not like Marco Stunt like throwing guys off into the ropes, back body dropping them, and
all of his offense was believable.
Right.
Was believable for him, for somebody of his size.
I think the only thing I might have had an issue with, he kicked out of like that the pile driver, what you call it, that the double stomp into the stuff. I was like, all right.
It probably should have been over. My issue with the match actually wasn't him, and I brought this up to you, and I went back and I confirmed I wasn't bugging, was that the match ended with Pentagon getting the tag, but he was inside the ring when he got tagged. And I'm no professional wrestler, but I'm pretty sure you got to be outside on the apron when you get tagged. But that's me being nitpicky.
I chalk that up to like Lucha Libre. And something? I chalk it up not even just to Lucha Libre traditionally. I just feel like anytime I do catch Lucha Libre these days, like AAA, CMLL, the refereeing is absolutely horrible.
It's shit.
Like, I don't understand what's going on. And I know, like, lucha tag rules and stuff like that. Like, if a guy falls to the outside, then the next guy can come in.
Yeah.
Like, I chalk it up to that.
And that wasn't even that in this match. Like, Phoenix was still in the ring.
I chalk it up to, like, the rules being lax in that way. But then I also chalk it up to, like, the referees in, like, AAA, CMLL, they absolutely suck. So if you're wrestling, like that week in and week out, and then you come over here, it's like you're not really conscious of okay, I gotta be on the ring apron holding the tag rope.
Yeah.
1 foot on the ring, at least 1 foot on the ring apron. You know what I mean? Like, you're not thinking like that. Like, you're just, all right, whatever. Because, when I'm wrestling in Mexico, the referee isn't even, able to bend down and make the count half the time. And
now that didn't kill the match, but there's just something that stuck out to me. I wish they would, just be more mindful of like the rules and stuff here and there. But I was still thoroughly entertained. It was a great match. After that, the other thing I wanted to talk about was you had the tag match, another tag match. There's a lot of tag matches on this, all good ones, but a lot of tag matches. Pac and Jon Moxley against Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, which was like probably one of my favorite matches in AEW so far, just because of how it advanced everybody's story in like a smart way. I feel with you already got the feud that's Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley. You got Pac and Moxley not really wanting to team each other. Pac is so concerned about like his win-loss record, and he feels he deserves a title shot because he was undefeated.
Right.
You have the animosity that's there between Hangman Page and Pac, and they were all just kind of firing on all cylinders for me the entire match. With it got to a point where Omega and Moxley are mixing it up. They're going at it, hard hitting. It was a nice exchange with them. Huge lariat from Moxley. They both roll out the ring. Kenny gets his broom with the barbed wire. Moxley gets his bat with the barbed wire. Ref turns around. They made sure the ref wasn't looking. Ref turns around. Moxley hits Kenny with the bat. Then, they're about to go at it again. Pac runs in the ring, grabs the bat from Moxley. Like, what are you doing? We're going to get disqualified. We're going to lose, because he's so concerned about his win-loss record. And it's even outside of AEW. Pac has been, like, undefeated for, like, 2 years or something like that. So he's like, yo, I'm not trying to lose here. And Moxley, in the most Moxley way, I don't give a F about the win-loss record. Middle fingers to the face. Paradigm shift. I prefer the name Death Rider, but Paradigm shift. He's out of there. Like, all right, I'm out of here. You just killed the moon or whatever. Right. And it's like it advances the feud on so many levels. Like, some of the comparisons I've seen, which I really, really love because I'm a bit of a nerd. It's like they compare like what's going on with Omega and Moxley compared to like the relationship, if you're familiar, Dragon Ball Z, like Goku and Vegeta, where like they're rivals, but it's like this weird respect for each other, in the sense of like, Kenny hates Moxley right now, but it's like, I have this weapon, but I bought one for you too. This is going to be a fair fight. And Moxley's kind of been showing the same thing, like, we're going to go at it. And for like this week and the week before, Pac has been the one that's kind of messed that up for Moxley. And it seemed like Moxley got fed up, and now we're going to have Moxley versus Pac this week on Dynamite. So I just thought that was a really cool element to the match and everything. It got Kenny is it Kenny's first win? Maybe his second win, something. Kenny hasn't won in a minute. It got Kenny a win in AEW.
I think his record is 2-3 or something like that.
Yeah, so it might have been like his second win so far in AEW.
I wasn't sure that the tag team wins and losses would count, but I guess so.
It counts, and they have like a singles record and they have like an overall record. So like usually when they're coming out, it's like singles record, whatever, overall record, whatever it is.
I'm gonna tell you the truth. I don't pay nearly as much attention to that as I probably should. Because they do, but I'll say this: they do make mention of it, and they make it a big enough deal that like I said, I should be paying attention to it. I just don't for some reason.
And but see, I kind of like that it's like that, like, because even though it's there and it's definitely a storytelling device, it's not. If this was WWE, every week somebody come out, he has his he's 2-3 and he's 1 in a draw column, and
Michael Cole will beat it into our brains.
And it's like nobody brings attention to it, but it's there if you want to see what the record is. And even like, which is cool too, and I know this too, if you go on AEW's website, like where they have the roster list, they have the roster, they have each of the guys, and it has their records with them. That's constantly updated, which I think is really cool too.
To see, and like, it all goes to show that like subtle things, even you just breaking that down, like the whole Dragon Ball Z thing, AEW knows its audience better than we give them credit for. because I feel like guys, like I said, like I listen to like Jim Cornette and stuff, they probably don't even get that part of it, right? Which is fine, you know. You could totally overlook the whole, you know, subtleties with like the Goku, Vegeta, the mutual respect and how they play it out and stuff like that. You can totally overlook that and just look at the feud for what it is, right? But for the fans who are like really, really in the know and who they play up to, it's like
it gives them like a little bit more to enjoy, which is perfectly fine.
Same thing that we say NXT does a great job of. Like, they don't always show you all the cards that are on the table. Sometimes you got to look a little bit into the background or like sort of like use your third brain and be like, oh yeah, this story kind of reminds me of this comic or something that I saw on this show. If you don't notice something
going on in the background, like when they have the match the next week, they'll let you know like why they're fighting them or whatever. But if you did pick up on it the previous week, you're like, oh, like it's like a cool little Easter egg.
And it's kind of like what I hope, but I have no faith in them actually doing with the Kofi thing. With him like gripping the pancake, sort of like, yeah, power of positivity, you know, like I don't think they're gonna play that up, but it's something that's like, if you missed it, all right, you missed it, but if you caught it, it's like, yo, but I remember, you know what I'm saying?
That's where it started.
That's where it
right
really
there.
Started. He was pissed off.
Yep.
Like,
we'll see where it goes. Real quick before we get out of here, the main event last week, which was crazy as well, Darby Allin versus Chris Jericho. I think it was like a Philadelphia street fight, something like that they called it.
Darby Allin is a star.
The kid has it, man.
And like, I know there's like certain people that wanted to give him like a slow burn and stuff like that, and I get it. You know what I mean? Like, don't give him too much too soon. Don't let that star fizzle out too soon. But it's undeniable. Like, it's undeniable. Like, honestly, I feel like this past week at AEW, for some reason, I think I texted you, I was like, yo, there's like a magic about this company right now. Like, everything that I thought that, like, okay, I don't know if they're going to be able to, I don't know if the fans are going to be with it, I don't know if people are going to really understand. I feel like this past week, just watching, like, the fans and watching, like, the crowd sort of, like, make Scorpio Sky not having his shoes a thing, right? And Darby Allin this week, and then like even was the kid that was that dresses like Orange Cassidy, was that this week or last week?
That was this week. It was after the show, but
right.
Yeah, but that was this week. Like, they definitely like I've been calling him Tangerine Cassidy. It's this kid that's been at all of the shows cosplaying as Orange Cassidy, and Cody like brought him into the ring. And
even the fact that I see that Orange Cassidy spot where he came out with his hands in his pockets and did the dive, the fact that I see people who I don't think give a damn to care about wrestling, but just the fact that thing is going viral. We were
talking about that. Yeah.
Shout outs to D Chambers. He's posted that at least like 3 times this week. Like, yo, this is my mood for the day. Like, I'm chilling. Just the fact that is a thing. It's like, it's surreal looking at how stars are being made in this company in 2019, and something that I feel like WWE hasn't been able to capture, like the sort of magic in a bottle. You know what I mean?
AEW is very in tune with their fans.
Not to sound super romantic about it, but you know,
they're very in tune with their fans, and that's the thing about the kid Darby Allin. He has that untangible where, like, even if you just was flipping through the channels and stopped on AEW and saw that match, never seen Darby Allin in your life, you would want to root for this kid.
Because, like, here's my thing. My only exposure to Darby Allin, and sad to say because he's been around for a little bit, and, like, I don't watch Evolve. Like, my first exposure was watching that Viceland series, The Wrestler, and he was on that, and they were showing him doing, like, skateboarding stuff, and him and Ethan Page, like, preparing for a match and Evolve, and like they had their match, and then like backstage afterwards and stuff like that. So that was my first exposure to Darby Allin. And then I guess the pay-per-view where he did the insane freaking
the Cracker Barrel spot.
Not even the Cracker Barrel spot.
The coffin drop.
The match with him and Cody. Yeah.
Coffin drop onto the apron.
Right. So that was like the first full match.
You know that's the hardest part of the ring, right?
Yes, the hardest part of the ring. I want apron moves banned in wrestling. If I was like a heel commissioner, if I was like a Bill Watts,
it'd be like how was it WCW back in the day? You couldn't do any top rope moves.
Yeah, top rope moves. My thing would be apron moves or disqualified. But no, yeah, no, but to see Darby Allin go from somebody who I had little to no like real knowledge about, and like I go online now, I see like people making illustrations of him, people dressing like him. Like, it's crazy to me that this AEW thing is really creating the stars that it's creating this quick.
The kid has it, man. The kid has it. With that said, like, the match was pretty good. Like, there was a point in the match where, like, Jericho duct tapes his hands behind his back. Yeah. And you would think, like, oh, he's about to get his ass kicked. And Darby starts busting out these crazy moves with no hands.
Right.
Diving through the ropes, doing a whisper in the wind type move off the rope. Did the lion salt, no hand, all of this stuff, no hand. I would kill myself if I attempted.
Yeah, shout outs to Darby Allin, man. Might be like I don't know if we have like a Wrestler of the Week award, but yeah, all that was super impressive. All of that was super impressive. I don't know. Yeah, he's on another planet.
We're gonna do it right now. Darby Allin, the YDG Wrestler of the Week.
Wrestler of the Week. There you go.
We're going to end it there, man. Thanks for joining us this week. Like I said, you can find everything is going to start getting uploaded to the Instagram page. Follow us at the YDG Network. Follow me at Willie Dope.
I like this Tuesday schedule. I think Tuesday probably better. I think I could get stuff like done and like turn it over
more of a efficient manner.
Yeah.
But we're gonna see how it goes, man. And like I said, you know, there's gonna be more stuff in the pipelines, and I say every week this is like gonna be a free flowing type thing. We may add some elements to it, we may take some elements away. We're gonna see what works, and we're just vibing here, man. We're just vibing.
Yeah, man. Shout outs to everybody that's following us. Follow me at Gift the Great. Follow Willie Dope at Willie Dope. And yeah, man, till next time, we signing off.
Yeah, I think that's it. You got anything else? I think that's it.
The YDG Unsanctioned Podcast. Signing off. Peace.